Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna
I could
Krishna
make
Krishna
out
Hare Hare Hare
while he was talking. I could make out.
Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Jaya
Hare Hare
Radha Madhava
Hare Krishna
Kunja Bihari.
Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna
Jaya
Krishna
Radha Madhava
Hare Hare
Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava
Krishna Krishna
Kunja Bihari.
Hare Ram
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya
Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Jashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jashodanandana Vraja Jana. Jashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jashodanandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Nitai Gauranga ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Manmohan ji ki jai, Sri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Sri Lakshmi Narasimhananta Dev ki jai, Sri Srinivasa Govinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 8, text 6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Please repeat. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Purport. The process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharata thought of a deer at the time of death and so was transferred to that form of life. However, as a deer, Maharaj Bharata could remember his past activities. Of course, the cumulative effect of the thoughts and actions of one's life influences one's thoughts at the moment of death. Therefore, the actions of this life determine one's future state of being. If one is transcendentally absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not physical. Therefore, the chanting of the Hare Krishna is the best process for successfully changing one's state of being to transcendental life. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapreshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So this chapter is entitled Attaining the Supreme. It's one of the important verses of this chapter. So, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Whatever is the state of being at the time of death, smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. So, our kalevaram means this body. Tyajati means giving up the body. So, everybody has to give up the body. If one is under illusion that this body will stay forever, that is the biggest illusion. So, tyajati ante kalevaram. At the time of death, one has to give up the body. And what is important is, there is a bhavam everybody has. Our mental state. Everybody has a mental state. Even now, we are sitting in the class. Our mental state, our mind may be somewhere else. In our childhood, I used to hear from my teachers, body present, mind absent. And many of us also will be telling our children, body present, mind absent. So that is the bhavam. Where is our bhavam? I'm thinking about something that I like to do. So there is actually a person in our history of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya called Bilvamangal Thakur. So he was born in a very respectable family, Brahmana family. But somehow he got into bad association and he was maintaining a attachment to a prostitute. So he was visiting her every day. So attached to her. To the extent that when his father died, they were performing some rituals, the rituals that are done. And he was hurrying up this priest, can you perform soon? And even when he was performing, he was thinking only about how he can go and associate with that prostitute. Body present, mind absent. And so he quickly finished everything. But then the bad news, it was a huge thunderstorm to the extent that nobody could go out. But still he ventured in that atmosphere. And he had to cross a river. And there was nobody to help him cross the river because it was a thunderstorm. Somehow he caught hold of a dead body that was floating, and he used that somehow to cross the river. And the gates were closed at that house, and he had to have some rope or something. He found a dead snake. He used that as a rope to cross, to jump over the wall, did all kinds of gymnastics. Finally, he knocked the door of that lady, Chintamani. And then she was surprised. Oh, Bilomangal, I thought you would not come today. And so he said, no, how can I not come? I was only thinking about you. And then she said something that struck him, which changed his life forever. Oh, if you had this kind of attachment to Krishna, your life would have been sublime. Your life would have been changed. How nice it would have been. And that triggered a thought in him. Oh my God, what am I doing? How I am wasting this life? And immediately he gave up the company of her and he started to go out to Vrindavan. Anyway, it's a big story. He eventually meets, on the way also, his lusty thoughts start to attract some woman who is a married woman, and he proposes to her, and she becomes scared and she brings him home, and the husband welcomes him because he is from a very good background and all of that. And then he realizes the mistake. I realized my mistake and was on my way to Vrindavan, but now again I got attracted to this lady. And he does something which is unthinkable. He asks this hairpin from that lady and he pokes his eyes and he voluntarily becomes blind. He says, "These eyes are my enemies." And then he goes to Vrindavan and then he engages there in devotional service in blindness, becomes a great devotee of Krishna, composes many wonderful songs. The famous Chaurashtakam that we sing is composed by Bilo Mangal Thakur. Many books he has written. Krishna Karnamrita and all these things, praised by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So for 700 years he lived in Vrindavan, in that state, engaging in devotional service. So it was the case of a devotee falling down. In the previous life he was a great devotee, but because he was attached to material things, he could not be perfected in that life. So he took birth again as Bilo Mangal Thakur. But his spiritual master appeared in the form of that Chintamani and reminded him, "Why don't you take to Krishna consciousness?" So he took to Krishna consciousness. So this bhavam is important at the time of death. Whatever is our bhavam, that state we will attain. Prabhupada is quoting the example of, has anybody paid attention to the purport why we were reading? Bharat Maharaj example. How many of you know about Bharat Maharaj? All the regular attendees know. So the Bharat Maharaj, he gave up his kingdom at a very young age, went to perform austerities. But at the end, not at the end, he was trying to perfect his life, but then he became attached to this deer, the small baby deer who was born as the mother was trying to escape from a tiger. And this baby deer was left alone. And so Bharat Maharaj took compassion and started to bring up this baby deer. And he got very attached to the deer. And finally, in that state, he died. So Krishna says, "Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam." Whatever is the bhava at the time of death. He was thinking of the deer, so he became a deer. But because he was a great devotee, Krishna gave him special blessing to remember his past life. So as a deer, he was remembering, "Oh, I wasted my life. I was this king and I wasted my life, got attached to the deer. Now let me be very careful." So what he would do, he would go to the hermitages of these great sages and then he would associate with them, eat only dry leaves and all of that. And the next life, he was born again as a human being, as a great transcendentalist. And he acted as a deaf and dumb and madman so that people would not come and disturb him, so that he won't get materially attached again. So Jada. Jada means dull. So he was known to be Jada Bharata. He was born in the family of Brahmanas, but he acted deaf, dumb, madman so that people won't disturb him. Jada Bharata. So that's the story of Jada Bharata, to show example of what will happen at the time of death. Whatever you think at the time of death. So I had one friend during my college days. I was going to the temple and hearing all these things for the first time. Very excited about these things. I was sharing this knowledge to one of my friends in college. So he said, "Then why do you make big fuss about it? Why do you have to go every day and practice? At the time of death, you think of Krishna." No, I can also think of Krishna. Let me enjoy life. Isn't it? Is that a valid suggestion? Easy? Smart? So, at that time I was a neophyte. I didn't know what to say. But then later on, we joined swimming classes. So we would read up something about swimming, and the instructor would tell, you have to make your body straight and you have to move like this. You just flap your legs and don't make this movement, just try to stay horizontal. So, oh, that's all very simple. And he threw us into the water. And the next thing, we were fighting for lives. Oh my God, I'm sinking. Let me come out. The more you are trying to come out, the more you are sinking. And then we somehow grabbed onto something and came out. And then the teacher said, what happened? You said, it's all very easy and you all understood everything. Yeah, it's all theory. The moment you hit the reality, hit the practicals, what will happen? Nobody knows. Especially at the time of death. Just imagine. Suddenly something comes and hits you. You're traveling in the car. Suddenly something comes and hits. We don't even know what will come out of our mouth. What are the thoughts that will be going through my mind? First thing is, you will be thinking, these are the last seconds of my life, last moments of my life. And you'll be scared. I'm sure some things like that might have happened in your life, some accidents or some sudden abrupt moments like that. We will know what we will think of it, think at that time. It's not easy to think of Krishna. That is why here Prabhupada says, the cumulative effect of thoughts and actions of one's life influences one's thoughts at the moment of death. So we have to practice. If we don't practice, suddenly you go to the test, what will happen? There is a formula, my teacher, standard formula people used to give. Multiple choice question, choose everything as C. So you'll get pass marks because that's how they design the paper. So if you're writing it blindly, choose everything as C. Don't go B, A, C. You may miss some. But death is not like that. The Yamadutas are smart. Like Prabhupada used to tell a story. This man, he wanted to avoid hemorrhage. So what he did, he smeared stool all over his body. So that he thought, when Yamaraja comes, Yamadutas come, they will get repulsed from him and go away. But they can capture the soul. Like Ajamila's case, they're not bothered about the external surroundings. Like Ajamila was crying. In fact, people think that, these Yamadutas, Yamaraja, all these are fancy mythology from India or from East, Vedic background people. Others may not even perceive all of that. In fact, one devotee was saying, this is from the West. So they had some festival, and so they had one devotee come to that festival who was a neophyte, who just started to show interest. He was a householder. He started to show interest in Krishna consciousness, so he said he also wants to come and help in the festival. So they all went. But he became sick during that festival, and he started to go back. And this devotee said, if you stay here, it's better for you, otherwise you will go and associate with whatnot. But still he came back. As expected, he started to associate with all kinds of people, and he stopped his devotional service. He stopped coming to temple, started to hang out with his girlfriend, all of that. So the devotee would call him occasionally, but he would say, no, I'm busy and all of that. But occasionally he would chant and all that. So one day he and his girlfriend went to this place near waterfalls. He was admiring that waterfalls, and now there is selfies and people get into danger. That time also there is some kind of danger, and he slipped and fell in that waterfalls, in that mountains, badly hurt, and he was one of the rare persons to have actually survived. the people who come and rescued him, they said, anybody who falls from here, nobody survived except you. The rock on which he fell had some kind of a hole into which he carefully fell so that he survived. So he was taken to the hospital, and so he realized his mistakes and he was chanting, he kept his altar. He had to stay in the hospital for a long time. So at that time, there is another man who joined the hospital. So this man is Jerry. The other man who joined the hospital was Michael. So this Michael learned that this Jerry has become a Hare Krishna in the hospital. He's worshipping every day Krishna, offering incense and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, because Hare Krishna was a rage at that time in the Western countries. Oh, somebody practicing Hare Krishna in the hospital, let me go meet him. So this Michael, he went to meet him, and they were conversing and he was explaining his story and all of that. And Jerry was saying, sometimes I get nightmares in this hospital, it's not good and all that. And this Michael said, oh, you're talking about nightmares? When I was in ICU, 5 horrible persons came through the window and they were trying to attack me and take me from my bed. And these people had ropes with them. And later on, the next day, the nurses said, you were uncontrollable in the night. At one point, you died. Medically, you can be dead for a moment and then you can come back to life. 3 times you were dead actually, yesterday night. And then somehow you came back to life. And you were throwing all these chairs on the windows and shouting, yelling at something. And we didn't know what was there. But you were constantly looking at that window and was throwing things and shouting. And it subsided after some time. And so this Jerry was surprised. Are you serious? These people, are you sure that's not nightmare? No, these people are as real as you and me. They were there and they were even saying, we'll come again to get me. And they left. And so this Jerry was talking to the devotee, and the devotee could relate how exact situation, exact similar thing had happened with Ajamila. I was going through some devotees' accounts on this kind of things. Similar incident happened with another person who happened to have Prabhupada's books. So these Yamadutas came to pick him with ropes, and they saw next to his bed this book, Isopanishad book, and the Srimad Bhagavatam book. And it seems they asked him, do you read these books? He said, yes. And then they went away. So like that. So actually, Ajamila's case, these Yamadutas come to take him, but they go back because Vishnudutas come and rescue this Ajamila, if you're familiar with the story. Because he chants, what does he chant? Narayana. He's trying to refer to his son, Narayana, at the time of death. The Yamadutas are coming, they're trying to pick him up. He's trying to chant Narayana, and the Vishnudutas come, and they argue and send back these Yamadutas. So he's saved. Now these Yamadutas go back to Yamaraja and say, I thought you were the authority. So what happened? So Yamaraja says, from now on, don't ever go near the devotees. At that context, he says, Sakran manaha Krishna padara vindayor niveshitam tad gunaragi yairiha nate yamam pasha bhrutascha tad bhatan swapnepi pasyanti chirna nishkrutaha. So it says, Sakran manaha Krishna padara vindayor. Our minds, even once, if we devotionally fix unto the lotus feet of Krishna. Sakran, even once. Manaha Krishna padara vindayor niveshitam. If it is fixed. Or if it is fixed in tad guna ragi, his qualities. If we are attached to his qualities, his activities, yaihi. Nate yamam pasha bhrutaha. For that person, These Yamadutas don't come. The Yamapasha cannot happen to that person. Tat Bhatan or Yama Bhatas won't come. Can they come in my dreams? Swapne api na. Even in dreams also you will not see Yamadutas. That is the power of fixing one's consciousness on Krishna. If one becomes a devotee, one does not have to go to Yamaloka. Yamadutas won't even come near. So Yamaraja says, then whom to bring? Jihva na vakti bhagavad gunanamadheyam. Jihva na vakti bhagavad gunanamadheyam. Whose tongues don't chant bhagavad gunanamadheyam. God's name or his qualities. Chanasmarati tat charanarabindam. One who does not remember Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna yano namati yachira ekadapi. Who has not offered his respects to Krishna with his shira. Tan anayadhvam asato kruta vishnu krutyan. You bring those kind of people. Tan anayadhvam. See how powerful Krishna consciousness is. Of course, it's not just saving ourselves from Yamaraja that we should become Krishna conscious. But the principle mentioned here is, whatever is the state of being at the time of death, that state we will attain. That means there is a chance for us to transfer ourselves to Krishna Loka at the time of death. A devotee asked Prabhupada a question. Prabhupada, our spiritual master, what if a devotee practices Krishna consciousness but somehow cannot finish it, especially at the time of death? He does not practice or remember Krishna. He goes astray before his death. So what will happen to such a person? Prabhupada said, do you think Krishna is so ungrateful to his devotee? In fact, in Ajamila's case, how Ajamila got the remembrance to name his son as Narayana? It is prompted by Krishna only. So this devotee later on is saying, Prabhupada said that, can Krishna be ungrateful? There was another devotee who was on the deathbed in Russia. So the rules didn't allow anybody to go near him. These devotees, they want to go and chant and all of that. And nobody went near him because they didn't allow anybody. Not even an MP3 player. He was all alone and he died eventually. And the devotees were very morose. They were all thinking, oh my God, he practiced so much. So finally, he was in coma. He was all alone on the bed. Nobody was allowed. So how Krishna let that happen? And then they had one visiting devotee. And then they were discussing, and then the visiting devotee said, no, don't worry. Why? Because somehow I wrangled my way through inside by trick, by bribe, I don't know how he did. He went to the place where he was in the coma condition, the devotee. He chanted to him. Even though he was in coma, he could not respond. He could see that there were tears in his eyes, the devotee. And in that state, he passed away. Just see how Krishna is so merciful. There was another gentleman in India during Prabhupada's time, old man, and he came to meet Prabhupada once because he heard that this Swamiji has come to, he's brought his disciples from the West and teaching Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada was busy. He said, I want to meet Swamiji. I want to get initiated from Swamiji. And they said, no, you have to practice Krishna consciousness, chant Hare Krishna, and you have to do services for 6 months. And then we will see your determination. You have to follow these vows. And then we will recommend to Srila Prabhupada, and then he will initiate you. The standard process we follow. And so he was a little disappointed because he was a householder, old man, his health is not good. And so outside he met one devotee. And he said, oh, I cannot do all of this. They are asking me to do all of this. See, my legs so swollen, I cannot even walk properly. So what to do? And the devotee said, you come tomorrow morning, Prabhupada gives darshan. Darshan means time Prabhupada allows the visitors to come and see him. So you come at that time, you come first, much before everybody comes, so Prabhupada can talk to you and only he can determine what can be done. So he comes the next day with a big plate of fruits and all of that offerings. So as the devotee said, much before, and they let him in. And so he places it before Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, oh, so what is your question? He says, Prabhupada, I want to chant Hare Krishna. And yes, very good desire. Chant, you chant. And then Prabhupada, he didn't even ask further questions. He started to he had beads with him, this old man. He started to, do you know how to chant Hare Krishna? And he took the beads, and first bead he was chanting. You repeat Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then he would repeat. And then Prabhupada skipped to the next bead. Chant again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Like that, he practically chanted the whole mala. Prabhupada practically chanted the whole mala and then gave it to him. And the devotees were amazed. It's practically like getting initiated. The spiritual master, before initiation, he chants on the beads and gives those beads. So it's like you are getting initiated by the spiritual master. And these devotees were wondering, he was so fortunate. And then he said, you always chant. And Krishna will help you satisfy all your desires. And this man went in that trance only. And later on, this devotee also felt very happy for him. After some time, he went to meet his house. He was chanting nicely, was doing nicely. And then after a few months, again, he went to visit this person. But that person passed away by that time. The family members told that few days ago, he passed away. And then they said something very interesting. When he passed away, they could not even take off these beads from his hand. He was holding on to those beads. And practically last few days, he didn't do anything else except from looking at Prabhupada's picture and chant Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And in that state, he passed away. And this devotee was saying, he was thinking of getting initiated, unable to do service. His leg was not cooperating. He had so many difficulties. And by one stroke, by the mercy of a pure devotee, he probably went back to Godhead. Prabhupada once received an aerogram, like a telegram you send across the countries. It's called aerogram. So he was in an apartment in Frederick Street in San Francisco at the time. So these devotees, the Matajis, they always took some excuse to go and meet Prabhupada and talk to him. So they went and knocked his door. Prabhupada opened. And they gave the aerogram, very eagerly looking for his response. So Prabhupada opened the aerogram, and he looked at it and just closed it, and as if nothing happened. And then these people, Swamiji, are you not excited? Are you not going to share what is this aerogram about? And Prabhupada, without flinching, without any expression, he said, yes, my sister died. And these people completely became shocked. oh, your sister died, and Prabhupada didn't have much emotion. And Prabhupada said, my sister was a devotee, she went back to Godhead. And so their mood completely got changed. Because usually, particularly in the West, nobody talks about death, point of death, what to do at the time of death. Life is projected as very enjoyable, do what you can in this life. Don't forget, don't worry about old age or death. Old people will understand. They're getting closer to death. Many times I had one devotee who was working in this 911 services. They attend to this emergency cases. So he was saying that many cases were people voluntarily calling 911 because they were old, they were all alone, they were frustrated in life, they were literally waiting for death, and they wanted to talk to somebody and they cannot find anybody to talk to, so they call 911 to have those people come and so they can talk to somebody. So that is how life is going to become. And that stage is coming not just for old people, even for young people also it's coming. All because of lack of understanding, true understanding of the purpose of life, true understanding of who we are, what is our connection, why we exist, what is our connection with Krishna, why we exist. So Krishna is saying, you practice, it's more important, it's very important. While we do all other things, yes, we can do all other things in life, but equally important is to practice Krishna consciousness, which is made very easy in this age, simply by taking up this holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we should take a vow. We may be submerged in so many activities, but come what may, we stick to chanting these holy names prescribed number of times. That will help us at the time of death. We would be really glad I did this in my life. So take a vow today if you have not, and stick to it. Sometimes there will be happiness, sometimes there will be distress, but Krishna will be with you always, particularly at the time of death. So I'll stop here. Any questions anybody has? So now we'll be doing one mala of chanting Hare Krishna. Anybody coming for the first time? Hare Krishna, welcome. So can somebody give her the beads first? Bijan? Anybody else coming for the first time? Hare Krishna. So this has 108 beads. So leave out the one on the top, which has a thread. So on each bead we are going to chant Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So it's an opportunity for you to surrender to the Lord in His holy name, submit yourself, express your humility, that save, my Lord, please save me, and shower your mercy unto me. The only thing you have to do is chant nicely, utter these words, Hare Krishna, very clearly, and hear it with your ears. And next 10 minutes, let's not bother about anything else in this room or whatever mind it throws up, any thoughts. Only clearly focus only on the sound vibration. This is the art of mantra meditation. So Krishna is non-different from His holy name. So with that faith and that surrender mood, let's call out to Krishna through His holy names. So let's start. So we'll do together synchronously. You can chant along with me. But before that, let's take the blessings of Guru Gauranga. Please repeat after me. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा. So let's chant together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare,